The US used to be at war with crypto. Advisors called it a Ponzi scheme. Banks used to freeze transfers, and regulators swore it was going to zero. People would go on TV and laugh about it. The message was simple: stay away. But then, it seems almost overnight, everything changed. Suddenly, the US was racing against the world to embrace crypto, and the question is why. So in today's video, it's a little different. Happy Friday, everyone. We're gonna lean into what's really going on and what reasons really motivate the US and the rest of the world behind Bitcoin. Because the answer is, it's not innovation and it's not freedom. Today's video is to deepen your conviction and why you're holding Bitcoin and why you know and we know it is going to the moon. Why it's not going anywhere, so maybe send this video to a friend or a family member or anyone who needs to understand it fundamentally. Because if you don't know why you're doing what you're doing, chances are you'll bail at the first sign of turbulence. Anyway, the reason the US is embracing Bitcoin and crypto is extremely strategic. It's a quiet plan to strengthen America's 36 trillion, wrap your head around that, $36 trillion debt market and keep the dollar dominant worldwide. Because if you've been following any news, okay, there's multiple history channels I follow, I'm happy to share with you, but this is a debt-based global economy and everyone is intertangled, okay? They're intertwined with the US dollar and debt that they owe. And we know that the US itself has a debt perpetuating system. And the way to make sure that the US doesn't lose its power position over all the other nations is to make sure they don't break away from the dollar. But the dollar is inflating. So how, might you ask, how are they going to secure their position? Well, that's what this video is all about. Very few people actually understand the real motives behind the US, a country I love, mind you. This isn't me talking bad about it. I'm just explaining what's going on. Anyway, I'm sure you're gonna love today's show, so let's get into it. So let's talk about the pivot when things changed, okay? Because for years, the US's message on Bitcoin and crypto was simple, as I said, stay away. If you walked into a bank or spoke with a financial advisor, you'd hear the same thing. It's a Ponzi scheme, it's a pyramid scheme, I've even heard, right? It's not real, it's magic internet money. It's going to zero, don't touch it. Even when some of those same advisors, same people behind the scenes, okay, personally believed in the technology, they knew it had potential, and they held some. We know that even Gary Gensler, who hated Bitcoin so much, was so public about it until he was finally replaced, he used to be a professor teaching about Bitcoin in the university. Okay, so it's not do as I say, it's go find out what they're doing to know what you like what's actually happening. Anyway, I'm not hating on him because we don't know the larger forces that influenced him, who he had on his back, you know, who, like, where this pressure was coming from that made him switch his perspective. So anyway, the point is we know the entire playbook. I keep going on and on about this in every single video this week, it seems. The system was designed to keep ordinary people, like your mom, like maybe you, like all of us, okay? Everyone except the 1% of the world, to keep everyone out of the game, out of managing and owning their finances and therefore their life. This era, however, okay, ended in July of 2025 when Congress passed the Genius Act. And this law flipped the script on its head, okay, 180. For the first time, the US government created a federal framework for stablecoins. And the details of this act reveal exactly why the US has suddenly become so friendly to crypto. The law requires that every stablecoin be backed by 100% cash or short-term US Treasuries. Issuers must publish monthly disclosures and submit to audits so the reserves can't be hidden or faked. If one of these issuers went bankrupt, stablecoin holders would be paid back before other creditors. And to top it off, the law explicitly bans issuers from paying interest to stablecoin users. And here is where all of it gets very interesting. Every time a new stablecoin is minted, a matching amount of that real money has to be parked in US Treasuries. So instead of fighting crypto, the US figured out how to capture it, turning it into a pipeline that feeds demand directly into the debt market. You see how it makes sense for them? Now let's look at the numbers because this is where the story starts to really make sense. Today, stablecoins have a combined market cap of around $282 billion. That's nearly 7% of the entire crypto market. What started as a niche tool for traders, okay, has become the cash layer of digital finance. And here is the staggering part. Tether, okay, the largest stablecoin issuer ever, recently disclosed that it holds about 127 billion in US Treasuries. That makes Tether one of the 20 biggest holders of treasuries in the world, larger than many countries. Circle, the company behind USDC, is expanding its treasury exposure too. Taken together, stablecoins already rival mid-tier sovereign debt buyers. This is why they won their place at the table. And this is why the US government had to start paying attention to them because they are one of their biggest buyers and holders of their US treasuries, of their debt, larger than other nations that are holding American debt because other nations around the world also hold American treasuries. And this has been happening while traditional demand for US treasuries have been weakening. In 2015, for example, foreign investors held about 35% of treasuries. Today, that share has dropped to roughly 23%, more than 10%, even though the absolute amount has climbed to more than 9 trillion. The share is shrinking, and the US needs someone new to step in. And that's exactly what's happening. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has already said demand from stablecoins could reach $2 trillion in coming years. For some perspective, that's about double what Japan, the single largest foreign holder, currently owns. So what began as a simple tool for crypto traders, the gaming industry, like even Silk Road back in the day, okay? Like what became as a simple digital currency has now become one of the fastest growing sources of treasury demand. Each new stablecoin minted fuels buying power, and the scale keeps accelerating. So let's tune into this. What are the main reasons the US flipped from trying to kill crypto, okay, they were trying to smash it, to building a whole legal framework around it, to having the first American president win based almost like, I'm not going to say 100% because it wasn't, but like one of the main forces was the fact that he was pro crypto and pro Bitcoin. The first reason is debt math. The national debt has climbed past 36 trillion. There's actually a whole website on this. Let me know if you want me to link it below. It's like the US debt clock or something. And it's this crazy website that just shows all the debt in real time. The national debt right now has climbed past $36 trillion. And the debt to GDP ratio is hovering around 123%. The only other time America has seen levels like this was during World War II, when the country was facing a global war effort and leaned heavily on household savings to do it. And today, the cost of servicing the debt is exploding. Interest payments are projected to eat up nearly 18% of all federal revenue this year. That's close to 1 trillion in interest annually, more than the US spend on national defense. The government simply can't afford for treasury demand to falter. This is like losing your job, okay? Like that's how important it is for the US. It'd be as if like the US were to lose its main source of income almost. The second reason is dollar dominance. If money is going to move natively on the internet, okay, the US wants the money denominated in dollars, not euros, not wons, but dollars, tied directly into treasuries and governed under the US rules. This keeps them in control. That's how the internet dollar stays American. The third reason is industry capture. For years, stablecoins floated in this gray zone. The US chose regulation over prohibition. Under the Genius Act, stablecoins now operate inside strict boundaries: disclosures, audits, reserve mandates, and every new mint ultimately supports the debt machine. This shift was driven by necessity. High debt levels, weakening foreign demand, and ballooning interest costs forced the US's hand. Stablecoins were reshaped into a tool that directly supports US debt. Very smart and quite obvious, honestly. So I'm so glad the US jumped on board. And here's the timing bit. This isn't the first time the US has played this game. During World War II, for instance, the government launched Liberty bonds. The pitch to the public was simple: buy bonds and support the troops. But what those bonds really did was funnel household savings straight into treasuries to finance the war. It was patriotism on the surface, okay, and debt financing at the core. Then in the 1970s, inflation was crushing savers. Traditional bank accounts were useless. That's when money market funds exploded in popularity. They were marketed as a safer, smarter home for cash. But the way they were structured forced them to hold short term treasuries. Once again, the US turned from a financial vehicle into a guaranteed source of debt demand. Stablecoins are simply the 2020s version of the same playbook, same strategy. On the surface, okay, it looks like a breakthrough for digital finance. And it is, because it's definitely easier to send dollars instantly across the internet than it is to wait like 3, 4 days or 7 days or never for a bank to clear your check. But underneath all of this, okay, every new dollar of stablecoin supply is a dollar that flows right into treasuries. And the growth projections are staggering too. Analysts at Standard Chartered estimate the stablecoin market could grow by 8 times by 2028, pushing well past the $2 trillion mark. Other Wall Street models project a range between 500 billion and 2 trillion in supply within just a few years. And if these projections come true, stablecoins are on track to become one of the largest single buyers of US Treasuries, rivaling the holdings of major nations, which then, of course, would have an effect on politics, because if somebody owns so much of your shares or of like what you have, then you are more incentivized to keep peace, right? And like keep a conversation going. But if they don't own much of what you have or makes you you, then it puts you back in your power position, right? You don't have to give in so much. So, just explaining how the power dynamic would shift for the US, although thankfully the US is a peacemaker. And yes, it has been, brutal in its globalization tactics. So I'm not referencing that or trying to open another can of worms. But the point is, it puts the US back in a powerful position. And the US right now, especially under President Trump, we are in peacemaking. Like that is our frame of mind and our attitude. Moving on and wrapping up, while stablecoins may solve this problem, okay, this whole debt, like power position market situation for the US, they do come with some vulnerabilities as well. One of these potential risks is in bank deposits, because if trillions of dollars leave banks and flow into stablecoins, banks lose their cheapest funding source, right? With fewer deposits, they have less money to lend, and borrowing costs rise across the economy. Thankfully, there are decentralized lending protocols that hopefully will like become more popular and help people when this happens. Because, of course, the impact would spread across mortgages to small business credit, tightening access to money everywhere. In the traditional world, once again, everyone can turn to Web3 decentralized financing based off of crypto. Another potential risk is bank runs at internet speed. If confidence in a stablecoin were ever shaken, redemptions could happen instantly, because that's how fast things move in Web3. Even with treasuries backing every token, those assets might need to be sold quickly, and forced sales at that scale could ripple through the bonds market. And then there's the shadow money concern. Stablecoins represent a second layer of dollars outside the central bank system. Right now, it's hundreds of billions of dollars, but picture many trillions in circulation. Right now, it's hundreds of billions, but picture many trillions in circulation. At that scale, you'd have something that looks like a parallel dollar system moving across crypto rails worldwide, always on, but operating outside the traditional levers of central bank control. Policymakers know this. And as the saying goes, if you can't beat them, you have to join them. And that's where we're seeing them move aggressively to embrace crypto. And that's why we're seeing them move so aggressively to embrace crypto at such a fast pace. Stablecoins may indeed help the US meet its treasury demand, yet the risks grow as the market expands. That's what makes this one of the most important stories in finance right now. Crypto was supposed to be an escape from the system, but the US found a way to capture part of it. Every US dollar stablecoin minted is now tied directly to treasuries. And because the dollar dominates the market, most of the stablecoin supply quietly flows back into the US. Stablecoins appear to be more convenient digital cash and a breakthrough innovation on the surface. But underneath, they're a hidden pipeline feeding the treasury market. And that's the real story here, the real motivation. The government's embrace of crypto came from necessity. Stablecoins now serve as a tool to support the treasury market. And in the process, they've reshaped crypto itself. And this is why it matters for you to know this. While most people still see stablecoins as just another crypto tool, you now know they've become one of the most important gears in the global financial system. This is the US's quiet power play, and it's unfolding in real time. Anyway, guys, I hope this increases your knowledge on what you're doing and what's going on, and I hope you found this breakdown valuable. If you did, just like the video and share it with a friend or family member. It means literally the world to me. I sit there counting my views, and they've been going up because of you and because you've been sharing my videos. So thank you. And then of course, subscribe if you haven't. It also helps me a whole bunch. And if you're feeling doubtful about crypto because of its price, watch this next video to understand the real opportunity behind it all. Have an amazing day, guys. Amazing weekend. Don't be scared whatever happens over the weekend. We know we have Jerome Powell's speech coming up, and it tends to shake the market. Just see it as a sale opportunity or just hang tight. Okay, and I'll catch you guys here on Monday. Ciao.